How to love without attachment. For a lot of us, that might seem like a very difficult thing just to understand. How can you love without being attached? But the real issue is that we've confused attachment with love. We don't make any distinction. In our culture, we're conditioned to believe that attachment is love, or at least an aspect of love. And in fact, there are many emotional feelings that we experience which we have come to label as love, which actually have nothing to do with love at all. So attachment is one of these feelings that we mistake for love. We say that we love someone so much that we can't live without them. Really, that's just a statement about attachment. But we've replaced the word attachment with the word love. So really, we should just say that we're so attached to someone that we feel like we can't live without them. But let's leave the word love out of it, because that has nothing to do with love. It's really important to be able to make this distinction. Attachment is ultimately based in fear or insecurity, to be more specific, whereas love is quite the opposite of fear. Attachment is ultimately selfish in its motivation, self-centered, self-serving. If I'm attached to someone, it's really about me rather than them. What am I getting, or what do I stand to lose? So my primary concern is with myself. Love, on the other hand, is coming from within, but is projected out. And love is concerned with what can I give, what can I share, what can I offer, what can I do for you, and not what can I do for you in order to get something in return, but simply what can I give without any concern for reciprocation or reward. It's only about the giving. So this idea of how to love without attachment is so difficult for so many of us to understand how it's even possible, because we don't recognize that the two are completely unrelated and in many ways conflicting. One is self-serving, the other is totally selfless. So it's only hard to understand how to love without attachment if you can't distinguish between them. Or to make it more complicated, if you've never experienced love in its purity, if you've only experienced some form of attachment, mistakenly labeling it as love, then it's not even an issue of making this distinction. It's more of an issue of misidentification. So suppose that's the case. Suppose that you've only experienced attachment and that you were misled to think that this is love, not by any fault of your own necessarily, but by an entire culture that has misidentified it. And it may be that you haven't experienced genuine love, or at least not in the fullness of it, because something has always stood in the way. There's always something inhibiting love from being expressed in its fullness. There are a number of things, feelings, beliefs that inhibit love from being expressed and experienced, and attachment is actually one of these inhibitors. Attachment actually gets in the way of love. It blocks it, it stifles it. So this idea, how to love without attachment, is really about how to love without inhibition, how to love more fully and freely without anything standing in the way of love. Because really, attachment is standing in the way of love. Now, there's no perfect analogy, but if you imagine love as being a flowing river, attachment could be seen as a dam, because the whole purpose of a dam is to hold on to something, to retain it. And attachment is like that. We're trying to hold on to something, to keep it contained and confined. So asking the question how to love without attachment is kind of like asking how can you have a flowing river without a dam, which is a ridiculous question, because it's only a flowing river as long as you don't block it. But the whole function of a dam is that it blocks that flow. So in the same way, attachment blocks the flow of love. Love flows naturally, freely, as long as it's uninhibited, but as soon as we put up a barrier, which is always some form of fear, then it becomes blocked. And attachment is a form of fear in some sense or another. When you really go into the feeling of attachment, there's so much fear in that. How will I live without this thing or this person? That's fear. That's not love. And that fear, if we feed it, will grow and inhibit love all the more. That attachment, when it festers and grows, becomes possessive, restrictive. It can even become violent. If I can't have you, nobody can. Is that love? Can you kill someone because you love them? This is attachment at its extreme. Not saying that everyone is like that, but just to make the point that attachment is not only distinctly different from love, but that it's counter to love. Love is completely liberating. It doesn't seek to possess anything or anyone. The reason we get so attached oftentimes is because we think that we need someone else in order to love us, in order to feel love. So we make others the source of love, and we get attached because we depend on others to love us. So to become free of that dependency, to love without attachment, you have to find the source of love within yourself. Really tap into that. Find out what's blocking it, what's inhibiting that flow. And when you allow that love to flow from within you, there's no fear of whether or not you'll receive or retain the love of others, because you have your own infinite source. So the attachment goes on its own. Not that you have to make any effort. Naturally, the more that you love yourself, attachment to others decreases. And in its place, there's more love to give. And you can give it freely because you don't need anything in return. It's all excess. You're already fulfilled, but you're also overflowing. So you're happy to share that excess without any conditions, without needing anything in return.
If you find this content valuable, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.